show me what democracy looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Like over and over. Like everybody was like responding to her. It was like she would say, show me what democracy looks like. And everybody's like, this is what democracy looks like. And I'm like, we're not a democracy. Just to let you know, we're actually a constitutional republic. I'm Joanna.
And I'm Tolly.
We're sisters. And we're so glad you've joined us on our YouTube channel. Please subscribe for more videos. We're going to be coming out with more. We're really excited about doing a few podcasts just as a creative outlet and to get our voices out there.
Yeah.
We just think it's something we would enjoy doing together. So,
and we think people will like hearing us talk about stuff.
Exactly. Hi.
I think we need to start over.
Okay, so we have been watching this spectacle of a confirmation process with Judge Kavanaugh this past week, like everyone else in the nation has. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people. And we have just been, I have just been blown away at the outrageousness of these protesters who get out there and protest, I'm not sure what, because there's no evidence to even base the protest on. How can you believe in something so much that you get out there and protest it, but there's literally nothing with evidence to support that, that thing that you're protesting. Christine Ford should be believed just because she says that this thing happened with no corroborating witnesses, no evidence whatsoever. I mean, just because she's a woman and just because there are so many women that have been sexually assaulted, we should just believe what she says because she said it and she's a woman. No. Well, that's insane.
You know, her brain functions. She has basic brain function. So
yes.
That's how she knows.
That's right. She did assure everyone that her hippocampus was
storing
the
memories.
The reason why. That I was just speechless at her testimony. I was just...
Yeah.
And I was watching it on the drive back from Gainesville. And so I saw it live, and I saw Kavanaugh's testimony. Part of it was live. I got to rewatch all of that later. And I have to say that after watching his whole testimony, his opening statement, and his entire testimony, you can see the man is visibly emotional. He's holding back his
raw.
emotions.
It was very raw.
If you looked at how he was, he had to take sips of water. He had to stop himself and just... You could see it.
How real it was. There was no act. There was no anything.
Right.
There was no... you could tell that he had been through hell.
Yes.
And his family, and his whole life, everything he'd ever built was going to be... has been ruined. He could be completely ruined.
Yes.
You've got
awful.
Friends... He had friends who were women over many years.
Many of them testified that he would never, ever do something like this. They testified of his character over and over, like many hundreds of women. Now, I want to say, though, that even though we feel that way after viewing his, testimony and hers and comparing the two, we feel that, he's just more believable. But I have to say that I still don't believe in this enough to get out there and protest. To get out there and...
Yeah.
I can't say with 100% certainty that this never happened. There is literally no evidence one way or the other. That is the issue here. And so he's innocent until proven guilty. So there's literally... There's no evidence to say he did it or he did not. And there's nothing to go on with a protest.
Reason, there had to be just something so something you were so passionate about that would send you all the way to Washington to protest and get in front of senators or whatever.
Right.
But we have her saying that this happened, and maybe something did happen to her.
Right. It could.
However, after watching it back, not the whole thing, but originally, when I first saw the testimony, it was live, but I caught where they were questioning her. I caught what was after the very initial opening statement, and I missed the actual opening statement. And so I heard all of her testimony after that, and then I heard everybody's commentary on it. Oh, she was so believable, obviously something happened to her. And so I thought, wow, that must have been a really gut-wrenching testimony. And so, I thought, wow, okay. So I actually went back and I watched the opening statement.
All you have is this mousy woman.
What?
Like,
I
with
mean,
this croaky voice.
Maybe it did, but she did not seem overcome. It
No.
wasn't raw. It was just like, okay, now I'm going to insert my croaky voice while I tell this part.
Yeah.
But there's no, like, moments of just, like, this washing over her, There's no real moments.
There weren't any.
It did not feel real. There was
no authenticity.
I mean, there's no... You didn't even wipe your eyes. Unless I missed it.
And yet,
did I miss that part?
Yeah, the emotion is mucus is right there, and as if she's going to burst into tears, but never happened.
When you're making a judgment on something, watching testimonies, when you compare the two, it's obvious what was real and raw.
Right.
I
mean, at least to my eyes, and not being a diehard Republican, I am not. I am much more independent-minded, much more libertarian in my philosophies, in a lot of my philosophies with politics.
Yeah.
But looking at the two, I'm just like, okay, lady. Like,
it's just
what?
What's crazy is the modern feminists look at this and just totally get behind her because she's a woman.
She's a woman, and because
However,
she should be believed.
She's acting like one of the women that they don't really like. They don't like women to be like that. They want them to be,
Abrasive.
More abrasive and in your face and brash and opinionated and all this stuff. And but they'll use or get behind and lift up somebody who is like this. This happened to me.
Yeah, because it supports their agenda. Anything that supports their agenda is what that's about. So yeah, you know how I was talking to you about the definition of feminine, because part of the reason I wanted to do this video is to just talk about what feminine really means, because our culture has just become so crazy about feminism, and feminism of today's culture means nothing like it should mean. Feminism should be based on the definition of feminine, and the definition of feminine is, and I wrote it down because I had to share it with you guys, having qualities or appearance traditionally associated with women, especially delicacy or prettiness. And some synonyms of feminine are womanly, ladylike, girlish, soft, delicate, gentle, graceful. So you notice that ladylike is one of the synonyms of feminine. Okay, so I have been just so repulsed by these protesters.
What got us talking about this was the protest.
The protesters.
That
these women who are like just surrounding these senators and screaming at them. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anyone has seen any of those videos, but it's been crazy. And it's just so unladylike. It's so unfeminine to do those things. Yet they are on the feminism bandwagon. Okay, like that's what they're all about. And it's all about women's rights. Well, I'm a woman, and I'm like, no. Like, you're not feminine at all. And that's just the absolute opposite of what ladies should be like. A lady is nurturing and soft and loving, and delicate is one of the synonyms. Ladylike means appropriate for or typical of a well-bred, decorous woman or girl. And some synonyms of ladylike.
It doesn't mean you can't be firm and strong.
Right. You can still have opinions.
A backbone.
Yes.
But one of the
way you come across,
the word gentle, I think in the Hebrew anyway, when you read in Scripture and where it says gentle, in some cases, it means the root of it means controlled strength.
Wow.
So it's not like
that is the epitome of what I mean.
It's being strong, but holding it,
also
and controlling it, controlling yourself.
Having self-control,
not like self-control over the way you approach. I mean, you don't. If you're going to protest, you do have to sort of be out there and hold your sign and chant or whatever, which is great. You know, that's what we do here in America. We can protest.
Yes.
But the level to which it has reached is just, it's animalistic.
Yes, and the antonyms, the opposite of ladylike is coarse, rough or loose, rude, crude or vulgar, impolite, and crass. Mm-hmm. So that's what they are. That's what these protesters, I mean, it's like the most extreme, ugliest of the, I don't know, just it's so opposite of a lady. It's so opposite of what a feminine person should be.
What it looks like
I think that's what bothers me the most about it. It's so disrespectful. And
they're angry.
Yes, they're angry.
They're angry,
very angry,
which is fine. They're angry because they believe that he tried to control a woman and did crude and vulgar things to a woman. But you're acting in a like manner.
Yes.
Whilst you protest.
Yes. They're being rude and vulgar in return as if to get back at him.
Putting their hand over someone's mouth, basically, and just forcing them to listen to just uncontrollable madness. Like, there's better ways to make your point.
Yes, you can make your point in a strong way and still be a lady, and still be womanly and gentle about your opinion, and not come across in this terrible, just
it doesn't come across as a strong woman making a point.
No, it comes across as very disrespectful, repulsive, like a toddler throwing a temper tantrum, maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's the opposite of how a grown-up should act.
Yeah.
Man or woman.
It's not,
Oh, and I have to say this. So, a man protester, say he did the same thing. Say, you know, he was just as coarse and rough and rude and vulgar and impolite and crass.
Screaming
screaming in a woman senator's face. Like, can you imagine the backlash? Can you imagine how vilified?
Look at this male patriarchy.
Yes.
This male domination.
Yes, say that it was a Republican, like a conservative man doing that. Do you think a conservative man would actually do that? Number one.
Very likely not.
Very likely not, yes. I mean, because really at the root of conservatism is restraint.
And they tried to make him look like he was like that because of his passion in his response.
He was emotional.
He was very emotional. That this However, the difference is righteous indignation. If your family is he came out as a defender of his family. That's what he was doing. Wouldn't any man want to defend their entire life reputation and because their family is involved in that? That he has 2 girls. I mean, who wouldn't be that passionate? And they're trying to say, like, he can't take that. You know, we can't have somebody with that kind of attitude on the Senate.
Yes, as if that
on the
disqualifies him.
Supreme Court. Are you serious?
I
There's
mean,
a you
hell.
can't tell the difference between righteous indignation and screaming and throwing a temper tantrum. There's a huge difference. How do we not tell the difference in that now? Like,
it's absolutely outrageous.
We come that far that we can't even split that. Like, what happened to intuition? For goodness sake.
I know. It's like basic common sense is missing. With this liberal mentality. I can't find. I'm digging for the common sense here.
Yeah.
in this liberal ideology that like social justice warriors and like how they think, I just don't get it. I mean, I have tried to understand it, and I feel that I'm a fairly open-minded person, but I really can't find anything other than woundedness coming out of these people. I see a lot of woundedness in these people that are, you know, just very angry. That just the anger that comes from these protesters, and it's like maybe they were wounded in their past by someone who sexually assaulted them, or maybe they were wounded by some sort of unfairness from a white male, which is their arch enemy, as social justice warriors basically act. They say there's a lot of they, you know, their basic enemy is the white male and how privileged he is. But what are you going to do? Make every white male pay for something that happened to you, or something that happened to someone you knew, or something that may have happened to Christine Ford, when there's no evidence? Like, where's the common sense? There's like no logic at all in that side of it. So they made it into a case for victims, and that's not the point here. Right. You're trying to vilify this one man. You're putting for all victims. A man through a job application process, basically, and they're trying to, you know, interview him for a job. Well, is it okay to completely destroy someone because of something that may or may not have happened? Just because there's an allegation? Now it's, if there is any allegation whatsoever, well, that's it. I mean, it's that's like, there's been an allegation. There's been an allegation. And, that's, your life is over. There's no... Yeah, I mean, you've already been tried and found wanting in the court of public opinion. Our generation, our culture, where we scroll past things that you'll see a horrible story with something really awful that happened. It's just so awful. Yeah, and you're like, oh my gosh, that really sucks. That's really terrible. Scroll. Oh, that's a funny meme. Yes. You know, that is like that's the attitude we have now with people's lives. Yeah, like, this is a man's life. Like, it's okay. We can just squash him completely. Like, your life is ruined. Let's scroll on to the next thing. Yeah, you're done. You're finished. After all your years of service. Oh my goodness. The man has been through 7 FBI investigations. Who ever has that done to them? A ton. Who? Like, he's been on the D.C. court in Washington. He's already been a judge for years. In Washington. Like, wouldn't this have come out before? Why is this not, like... I mean, can we talk about the very high possibility that this was a coordinated political scheme and how people should go to prison if that's the case?